Hey guys, Ben Paints here, and today we are back once again for another video. However, this time we're back outdoors for the last video of the year, and in this session we were taking part in the D40 race at Daytona Milton Keynes. Now we do get underway here straight away, and this was the carnage on the first lap. We come around the first corner, you can see Matthew Borrowdale going into a little bit of a spin and getting completely taken out head on there. And we carry on round the first lap. You can see on the left, much as I said last video as well, Lewis there on the left actually had spun out as well, so we'd already managed to gain a few positions up into 6th place. Now before we jump into the rest of the video, I would just like to say, if you are new here, could you please hit the subscribe button, as it really does help me out a lot, and it really does mean a lot to me. The channel has been growing from strength to strength, and I only hope that this can push on into 2023. And if you do enjoy this video, could you also hit the like button down below, as the more engagement in the video, the more it will be pushed to new people, and the more people will be able to see the content. So I really do appreciate that as well. But jumping back into the footage, you can see so far we managed to gain a few positions. Starting in 8th place, we're now up to 5th behind Sam Oatley and Arthur. But unfortunately, you can see immediately I was realising, especially as we got to the main straight here, as we were able to overtake one of the public members, we come down the main straight here and you can see the frustration in my hands and the way I'm moving my head at how slow my kart was in terms of acceleration and top speed. I had absolutely nothing down the back straight, I had nothing coming out of the corners, and this just made my night even more difficult than it needed to be. You can see the conditions were already very slippy, and you can see they're almost going straight onto the bank curb there. But despite the conditions already being quite tricky, I also had a bit of a dud kart to contend with, which is sort of the norm now for me at this point. We sort of just get on with it, but it was a bit annoying as this session did cost £80 and the karts were promised to be up to scratch quite fast, and instead it didn't feel that fast for me. The kart didn't have any exit speed. You'll see here I'm able to gain a lot of time for the corners, but just even the smallest straight I'm losing a lot of time, which you will see to the driver up ahead. You can see I get a way better exit here, and just the speed he gets away from me is utterly ridiculous. You can see frustrated there. However, on the left hand side you can see Arthur's just spun out. You can see me trying to gesture to him that my kart is a bit of a dud one, but he spun out there behind me, and you will see evidently how quickly he manages to catch up to me once again because of how slow the kart was out of the corners. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I did qualify in 8th position. Now this was due to the fact that there was a 10-minute practice / qualifying session at the beginning of the day. You can see there I did go straight into the tyre wall on the right hand side, really overcommitting there, being a little bit angry with myself. But as I mentioned, I did qualify in 8th position, and this whole session was plagued with yellow flags. The whole time we were on track, there wasn't one lap where there wasn't at least 1 or 2 sections of the track covered in yellow flags. So really it was just a question of keeping the car on the track and keeping it in a straight line to ensure that there was just a sufficient lap completed, because if you made any mistakes then you're immediately going to get dropped down the field. Especially with my kart being a little bit slower, I really had to make sure that I maximised every exit and acceleration zones to just ensure that I put in a decent lap. Now you can see so far fastest lap was a 1:52.862, which wasn't the best lap, and it also just wasn't the best obviously due to it being the first lap. We do come across the line our second lap, a 1:46.628, and this is then backed up later on our third lap as we skip ahead to a 1:48.487. Now I've skipped ahead a little bit because, as you can see, there was a lot of carnage, a lot of yellow flags, and there wasn't really a lot of action going on because obviously my kart wasn't quite quick enough to keep up with some of the guys ahead of me who had karts that were akin to actually working. But then some of the guys behind me were just spinning out a bit too much, and this was meaning that I was just sort of running my own race, which was sort of the theme for the whole video. There wasn't a lot of time where I was actively battling with other people. I was obviously overtaking some people who were spinning out, or they were a bit slower than me due to being lapped, but there wasn't actually a time where I had a genuine battle with anyone, which was a bit of a shame for me, as I was really looking forward to coming to Daytona and really having a good time battling with some of the others that I'd come along with. Obviously there was a group of about 8 of us there, much like the last video at the BRKC track in Milton Keynes as well, Formula Fast. So I was really just trying to have a little battle with someone that was around my same ability level rather than the general guys that had just gone along for a bit of fun. You can see once again we've really closed up to Sam Oatley up ahead, who's in 4th position, and I was trying to even make some sort of move on him, but you can see straight away the kart parity between me and Arthur. You can see how much he's just flown past, and that obviously did frustrate me quite a bit because I felt that I had a lot more ability than I was able to show. As you can see here, I gained up a lot of time through the corners, but just due to the fact that my kart had no acceleration, no top end speed, you can see even coming out of this small hairpin here how much time has actually been gained, at least 4 or 5 kart lengths on me just in one corner, and this made it very difficult to actually fully enjoy the session that I was taking part in, which was a bit of a shame. But we do come across the line on this lap 151.595, and obviously that's due to the yellow flags, and as you can see once again there was even more yellow flags. So this was, as I mentioned, the theme for the whole video. There was a lot of sliding as once again Arthur takes a bit of a tumble going in a bit too hot on the brakes there, and this causes me to move up into 4th position rather than Lancashire back in 5th. So 4th or 5th is sort of where I'm sitting around at the moment. Obviously Sam Oatley up ahead in 3rd in the blue suit, and we just can't quite catch up to him due to the kart just not having the acceleration that I wanted to have. You can see I'm gaining a lot through the corners, as I've mentioned, really trying to urge the kart to have some sort of ability, but just not quite having the pace. You can see how frustrated I'm getting. You come around this corner, which is one of my favourite corners, you can almost go flat out here and just lift off slightly to ensure that the car had a nice turn in to the corner just to gain enough grip. You can see there the driver on the left spun out on the 2nd hairpin there, so I didn't want to collide with them, go a little bit wider and almost going a little bit too wide into the tyre barrier as I had earlier in the session here. I waved Arthur past because I just couldn't be bothered to see him send it right down the back straight again and frustrate me even more, so I let him pass, just tried to tag along behind him, but you can see straight away how much pace his car had, and I was really struggling mentally with this. I was really annoyed, so instead I was just languishing in 5th position. I thought 5th was where I was going to end up. I didn't see anyone else that was behind me at this point, so I was just trying to focus on running my own race, just trying to get some decent lap times in as best I possibly could with the kart I've been given, and just try and stay as smooth as possible and hope that other people spin out or make mistakes and I can collect a few more free positions, much like Matt and Lewis did for me in the first lap, and I was able to gain 2 positions for free off the bat. So we come across the line here on this lap with a 1:49.969, and we do skip ahead a little bit more later into the session. As I mentioned, there was a lot of just driving around on my own, which I didn't quite enjoy, to be honest. I would rather have had a little bit of a battle with other people, but sometimes these sessions happen. You can see a lot of counter steering, a lot of fighting the steering wheel there just to try and make sure the kart was turned in the right direction. You can see the amount of input I'm having to use. As you can see up ahead again, there was a lot of drivers that had spun out, and I was really able to tag along on the back of them. Obviously they were laps cars, so it wasn't any position game. You can see again I'm getting really frustrated just trying to catch up to the back markers here. I couldn't quite do it, and my main goal shifted from sort of trying to win the race or battle the guys ahead of me to just ensuring that I didn't spin out. Now, if you have seen my recent video at PFI, you'd realise that I did spin out a number of times, and this actually caused me to lose a lot of positions. And obviously waiting for next year in 2023, doing a couple of championships, I want to ensure that that doesn't happen. So I just wanted to make sure that I could stay on the track as much as I possibly can, unlike the driver there on the right hand side who spun off into oblivion. But we can see here on the left hand side, Matthew Borrowdale does shoot down our left hand side, blows us a little kiss, and also gives us a nice little dance to watch as he goes past us down the main straight. Now, I don't know if he's trying to get into my head or annoy me, but unfortunately for him, he had actually been black flagged due to racing under yellow flags, so he actually was disqualified from the race, so his overtake didn't actually affect me at all. However, I just wanted to leave this little move in that he did here, as he absolutely sends it on 4 people, taking a nice wet line here and just absolutely overtaking, skinning not just me but another 3 drivers. So congrats to him on that overtake. It was a really good one, and I also enjoyed the little dance as well. But that last lap, obviously due to yellow flags, a 1:56.061. Now, as I've mentioned, I was just trying to stay as calm and composed as I possibly could. You can see here, looking for moves past some of the other drivers here that were a little bit slower than myself. You can see how wide he's gone there. I tried to go up the inside, but the acceleration from the driver ahead is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely no chance I'm going to overtake him in this section. But you can see once again, through the corners I'm gaining so much time, but he puts his foot down and away he goes once again. Now this was a bit of a theme for the video. There was drivers that sort of were trying to look back, show off to me quite a lot, and then they get to 1 or 2 corners and it just seems they don't really want to drive. As you can see there, the driver up ahead did have a very fast car, and it was sort of wasted from the way that he just completely slid out as soon as he got past me. Obviously this was ongoing for the whole session. It was a difficult session. It wasn't your typical way of just driving around the track, managing to be quite aggressive on the pedals. You did have to be quite soft and gentle and just really manage your input of both pedals just to ensure that you had a nice stability coming out of the corners. You can see here I'm trying to even deploy some human DRS to keep up with the driver ahead, and even that's not working, so I was remained here behind the kart number 24, going in a little bit too hot there. The back of the kart squealing under the amount of braking pressure that I used to ensure I didn't bump into the back of kart number 24. You can see again, even he doesn't have a decent kart, but I still am unable to actually gain the traction out of the corners to keep up with him. Again, you could see there driver spinning out on the last corner, and that was our fastest lap so far, 1:45.417. Now throughout the rest of the session it was just a case of keeping the car on the track and just really trying to overtake some of the other drivers. You can see here the driver going a little bit wide, and this allowed me to slip up the inside and take the position. As you can see, Arthur up ahead sliding again. You can see this continued later on into the session. Many overtakes were done by some of the laps cars, some cars that weren't really slid out. You can see on the left hand side once again I'm following along with Arthur, and again just coming into the big right hander here, just trying to ensure that I didn't quite take the car out ahead of me, but also just trying to look for a way past, going around the outside here for the inside of the next consequencing corner, just to ensure that I had a nice ride. You can see there having a little bit of a tank slapper on the exit, and again through the chicane section at the beginning we were able to complete another overtake on the driver ahead of us without colliding with the marshal and the parked car on the inside. But as I've seen there, our fastest lap so far despite all of the overtakes was a 1:44.829, and the footage that you're watching now on this lap was in fact my fastest lap of the session as a whole. So our last lap, a 1:46.641, and this was one of the laps where there weren't actually any yellow flags, and I was just able just to give it a go, just try and push the car as much as I possibly could without spinning, without losing time, to checking over my rear there just to ensure no one's following along behind me. I took a little bit of an unconventional line there, going into the middle of the track rather than going near to the apex or just taking a bit of a wet line, so cutting off the track a little bit there. Again, almost going flat out through this corner, not quite trusting the car enough, so having to lift off and hit the brakes a little bit, but you can see how much grip we're actually managing to gain as the session goes on. Obviously a little bit of a dry line was appearing from all of the tyres that were going over the wet track, and again running a little bit wide, but a nice amount of time to actually keep the throttle in coming down the back straight. Here was my favourite corner of the whole track, just really able to keep your foot planted and just really go flat out into the corner, keep full lock to the left to ensure that you just were able to cut round through the corner and not actually understeer onto the banking. You can see there a little bit of a yellow flash up ahead, but I realised this was a pretty fast lap, so I didn't want to quite slow down. And here you can see clipping the apex there just to try and get the rotation on the car, going a little bit wide, coming into the final couple of hairpins here, taking a decent line there, cutting off the track to ensure that I had a nice run coming onto the last corner, and then coming around the last corner here, just going wide of the driver who was stuck on the inside, really maximising the track length here, and we do come across the start finish line with a 1:42.759, which wasn't the fastest lap of the race by any means, but it was a decent lap for myself considering the kart that I was given. You can see once again another driver with a faster kart who was unlapping themselves going down my inside there, kart number 21, and he's looking over his shoulder a number of times here as he realises that he's under pressure from me. He goes really wide, really deep into that corner. I'm able to cut back, go over the inside curb there to try and get some sort of run. You can see on this corner around he goes once again. So the only actual battles I managed to have on this evening both resulted in the driver I was racing against spinning out within one corner of racing, which is a bit of a shame. But what you are watching now is my final lap of the session. You can see our last lap of 1:43.368, so not quite caught up to my fastest lap of 1:42, but still getting some decent consistency, really just trying to work on being as quick as I possibly could, almost absolutely murdering that person who was spun around there. And you can see up ahead once again, Arthur has actually managed to lag behind a little bit here, so I was really just hoping that he made one more mistake while I was actually on his tail so that I could overtake him and maybe steal 4th place off him. But instead, as you can see, he's just shooting off into the distance. The power in his car is completely different to my own, and this was really annoying because I was unable to actually beat him out on track because of this. So instead I had to sort of languish back in 5th place. I was pushing quite hard now at this point just to try and get my car pointed in the right direction, ready to just put my foot down and accelerate after him. But you can see just within half a lap before we've even got to the main back straight how much time he's actually gained on me. He's not even on my screen already at this point. So this was sort of the conditions that I was fighting. So to be this close by the end of the race, I was really happy with. You can see already he's just completely gone over the crest of the hill. So even though I was unable to have a car that actually had any pace, I still finished in a good position, 5th out of 32 people, which I was really happy with. And I was just excited that I was able to keep the car in a straight line. I didn't spin out for the whole session, which I was really happy with, and that was one thing that I was coming in after I realised the track was damp. I realised that was one thing that I really wanted to work on, just to ensure that if any other people did spin out, I was able to pick up 3 positions. But here on the last lap we come across a line of 1:44.851, so not anywhere near our fastest lap at all, 2 seconds off. And this does in fact round out the end of the video. Now here we do come around the last lap, and I just wanted to take the time here to say thank you guys so much. This is in fact my last video of 2022, so I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for all the support over the last year. It hasn't quite been a year, but I just want to say thank you all. If you've subscribed, if you've viewed, if you've liked, if you've commented, any engagement whatsoever, I really appreciate every single one of you, because without any of you guys I wouldn't be here making videos for you all to watch. As I've mentioned in previous videos and also over on my Instagram, I do have a lot of different things lined up for next year. To name a few, I'm going to be competing in the SRK Outdoor Championship, the Club 73 Weekend Series. I'm going to be competing in the BIKC again, and also just taking on some other miscellaneous events, and obviously continuing to give team sport a good go and just really just enjoy karting as much as I possibly can. So stick around, we've still got a lot more to get through, and we're definitely only starting off light this year. Really hope to ramp things up over the next year. So I hope you guys, if you have watched this far, I hope you guys have enjoyed the video, and if you have enjoyed the video, could you please hit the like button, and if you are new here or if you haven't already, could you please subscribe to the channel, as it really does help me out, and we're really closing in on 200 subscribers, which is something I never believed would happen when I started the channel at the beginning of the year. So in the space of the year, we've managed to gain over 550 followers on Instagram and about 170 of you guys over here on YouTube, which I can't thank you guys enough. I hope you guys have a fantastic new year as well. Obviously, as I mentioned, this is my last video, so my next video will be in 2023, but as always, my Instagram is linked down below if you do want to keep up to date with some of the other things that I'm getting on with. And I've also left a link down below for the Team Sport Discord if any of you guys are interested in joining and having a chat with some other members. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care.